Womp, 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 womp. Oh, sorry. I thought we were in Felwood for a moment there. Hi, guys. Hopefully I'm live. If I'm not, well, then I'm screwed. It's been nice knowing you, but I'm apparently not live. Or maybe I am. There's only one way to know. And that's if you at home tell me if I'm live. Yeah, but... oh, that's something else. Hey, I am live. Yay. I live. I live. I'm sorry. Right. So, what's up, guys? I'm sorry, Necro. I wasn't actually trying to scare anyone. I've tried to get away from that. For those of you who've watched my older stuff, you know I'd had this habit of being like, this is the moment I started, and people really didn't like that, so I've been trying not to do that. So I wasn't deliberately trying to scare anyone, I was just trying to emulate the Felwood and how much I hated that music. If you could call that music. I suppose that's debatable at that point. Hello, Illyria. By the way, Illyria, are you joining us for Job Fiesta? I am assuming you are. I know Samurai is. And I don't know if anybody else is, but you know, I just thought it'd be kind of cool. So, before we continue the Arak thing, I want to talk about something Gnarlix brought up as I was getting prepped here and quickly grabbing a drink. He mentioned, okay, so I've made the argument many times. If you've introduced something, you know, whether it was a mistake or not, the mistake has been made, right? I mean, it's done. It's over. You there, mistake made. And I hate to quote Thrawn on this one, but a mistake does not become an error until you refuse to correct it, right? So they already made the mistake of, it's acceptable, Myron. If you can tolerate the graphics in the UE, then yeah, go for it. It's the GBA version as far as the meat of it, so if you make a mistake as a writer, and God knows we all do that. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. I make mistakes, you make mistakes. Our favorite writers make mistakes. You know, there are plenty of people who make plenty of mistakes, right? If you've made a mistake, do something with it. And in fact, I am grateful now that I can use a current event to explain what I mean by this concept. Right as soon as I finish coughing. Hang on. BC. Now, I know that's a really unpopular thing to say because lots of people really liked BC, and I am one of those people. But there's no denying that the writing team on BC really dropped the ball. They made a lot of mistakes. Let's just be honest about that. However, they then finally, and it took them absolutely freaking forever, but they did turn around, and they did say, okay, we made mistakes, let's fix them. And they have finally fixed the mistakes of BC with the book Illidan, which, as I've mentioned before, pretty much is here, let's fix BC, the book. I mean, it really is. It's like, here's what was actually happening during BC, is effectively what the Illidan book is. And I like that. They took the crap situation they were in and turned it into something, you know? They did something with it. And it's not like a writer doesn't need to know when to cut losses and just give up on something. That's a concept, too. In fact, I could use another parallel for that. Star Trek Enterprise had a concept that was very badly fleshed out, which I will talk about if I ever talk about Enterprise, called the Temporal Cold War, which is one of those ideas that should have been amazing, but they didn't... well, you know what, I don't want to get into it. The point being, that was something they should have cut their losses on. But my point is, there is a difference. There's a difference between, you know, trying to make something of your losses and trying to cut your losses, okay? Big difference between those two. I mention this rather specifically because actually it kind of helped flesh out Kael'thas a little bit more. I think Kael'thas was pretty much screwed from day one based on that book. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. Point being, they've already done Warlords. We have the alternate dimension. We have alternate Grom. We have Azura. We need to use these incredible, amazing tools. Well, at least Azure is. The others aren't. We need to use these things. These exist now, okay? We're not in the undone phase. We're not in the capacity to just say, you know, let's just undo this. No. We need to actually do something with this. So what I was asked earlier by Gnarlex was, now that we have redeemed Grom, should we use him? In fact, the exact quote was, since Grom is alive, should they use him? To which my answer is absolutely yes. You have introduced this problem character. God's sakes, do something with him. The bubble can go screw itself. The bubble itself is inconsistent. So their own bubble clinging can go to hell. Now, what could they use Grom to do? That's a much harder question. I couldn't answer that off the top of my head right now. I would have to really sit and think and actually analyze the situation and try to come up with some kind of use they would have for Grom outside of killing him. And I know you're looking at me weird, but I mean that sincerely. Killing Grom might actually be a decent way to do something with his character. I mean that sincerely. And this isn't just like, oh, I hate Grom. No, I mean sincerely. Have this redeemed Grom and have him like, roar, and then kill him off. And there's so much you could do with that story-wise, especially since Grom is probably, despite everything, still considered rather venerated amongst the orcs of old Draenor. So whoever killed him, Draenei, excuse me, might actually cause some serious problems if they did so. Yes, I know about the Roddenberry bubble. I plan to talk about the Roddenberry bubble extensively when I get to TNG. That is true, Necro. It is unfortunately rare that Blizzard fixes their mistakes. That's why I'm so happy about the Illidan book. Because they actually fixed BC. Holy crap. That's why I'm happy about the Chronicles books. They're going back and smoothing out some mistakes there, too. Anywho, so what's up? That's like the perfect response to what's up. Hey, what's up? Thank you for returning to us, Velvoxus. I must admit, we are sorely in need of your help. By now you must be wondering about all this curse business. What could distort a majestic Arakawa into, well, this? He drags a crooked hand through the mottled feathers around his face. A raven is prepped and waiting to fly you to Talon Watch. There shall your eyes be open to the origin of this curse. Present the Eye of Anzu to Talonguard Kurek. He will guide you from there.
Goodbye.
An important contact lives in the nearby Shadowglade. He is meek, but trains Kaleri of a monstrous size, which are extremely dangerous. He once claimed he could knock a Rylak out of the sky, but I'll believe that when I see it. Skizik is holding a valuable treasure for me. Seek him out, get it back for Vale Tarok if you can. At the very least, recover the gavel I entrusted to him.
Farewell, my friend. Draw back the veil.
Talon priests live among us in secret, guarding the rights of the Talon King's return. The adherent proclamation you acquired in Skeddies revealed 2 of them living in the Shadowglade to the north. Orcs have moved into the region, and the adherent's beam weapon left Vale Akra as a smoking crater. As you can see, my people are beset by enemies on all sides. Talon priest Ishal survived and is in hiding. Drink this elixir near his hut. Peer into the shadows. Make contact with him.
The shadows are restless.
Hey, Soofser. What's up? Actually, Azure, I have a complicated answer to that question. And thank you, Cashel. I am very looking forward to getting back to my show
This curse has not broken me yet.
On the YouTube features. It's one of the reasons I'm so eager to finish the WoW lore run. As much as I have very, very, very much enjoyed the WoW lore run, it has certainly been a long endeavor, and I am looking forward to getting back to the rest of my work. And not working 15-hour days, I think, give or take. So, this is a fun-looking area. Ignore the blood. It's just rain. Blood. Rain, blood. Bloody rain. It's fine. It's funny you say that, Kay, because I got the opposite impression of middle TNG. About Season 3 to, say, about Season 5. You know what I mean? Actually, you probably don't, since you totally disagree with me. Early TNG, sure. Later TNG, yeah. Voyager, absolutely. But there was that one sweet spot. I feel TNG really did feel like it had a degree of background continuity. Thank you, Sufsir. Okay, Voyager, in my opinion, lots and lots of people bash Voyager. And fair enough, you know, we're all allowed our opinions and whatnot. As much as I talk negatively about Voyager, and I do, I don't like bashing Voyager. I'll bash Rick Berman till the cows come home, but not Voyager itself, because I felt Voyager was still an enjoyable show. In fact, I have enjoyed rewatching the entire series, front to back, not counting even for the ruminations I've been doing, multiple times. And so, the biggest thing I always think about when it comes to Voyager, you know, TNG was amazing. Great character dynamic. Great exploration of the setting. DS9, absolutely amazing cast. Wonderful main plot. Absolutely brilliant use of continuity. Original series, when it was good, but when it was good, it was great. It really felt human and alive and really fleshed out the people and made you feel like you were on the frontier of the unknown. Voyager, if you think of it like a line graph, like you see that shadow of the tree right ahead of me, in front there, see? That line is the greatness line. So if we cross over this line, we've officially made a great show. You know, and TNG's over here, and Deep Space Nine's over here, and Babylon 5 is like a few miles that way. But Voyager feels like it's right here. It's like just if they had taken one more step forward, the potential was so there. It was so close to being an amazing show. If they had done Voyager, not even that much differently, just a little differently in its overall execution of the entire show, Voyager might have actually become my favorite Star Trek show. It might have surpassed DS9, surpassed TNG, surpassed the original series. And it was right there! And so, as you're going through the episodes, it feels like it's doing this right here. It's like that. It's just doing this over and over and over and over. And this is Warlords. Every single time we get to something, Warlords is like, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah. No. I still like Warlords, but if they had done things again as the overall execution of Warlords differently, Warlords would be over here. You know? Yes, Enterprise occurs before the split, so Enterprise is the only show that's canon for both timelines. And they actually reference Enterprise in both timelines, so there's that. As for the new series, no, I got no idea.
A dark wind is blowing.
The blood of the dead god, Seath, lingers in the pool's air, and with it the hatred of Rukmar and Anzu. So strong was this hate that it animates the blood even now, eons after he was slain by his fellow gods. I need the congealed blood that holds those spiteful creatures together. There is nothing the adherents fear more than the power of this curse. What if we could brandish it against them?
Tread carefully.
Family. Okay. Great episode, I feel like adding. Can't wait to talk about it, because the behind the scenes of Family is fascinating.
Shadows gather.
And yeah, I'm basically in the same boat with you, Cashel, on that one. I think a lot of Star Trek fans are in the same boat on Voyager. Inches from greatness. Richard sent an outsider here? You must be very important. Or very dangerous. Is that what I think it is? We must get this to Talon Altar. We shall use the orb to contact Anzu, but first I believe its powers can help us save lives here. The adherents have been casting their enemies into the hollow for generations. The pools carry Seath's curse, crippling Arak with visions of darkness and intense pain. The mind reels, the body rides, and the wings wither. Most Arak would die or go insane. Only the strongest can resist. Seek them out. Use the Eye of Anzu to help them to their senses. But beware. For the worshippers of Seath also prey on these survivors to fill their ranks.
Keep to the shadows.
Yes, Necro, that is quite literally what he wants to do. He wants to make a biological weapon out of the blood of Seath. So, why did they never make a DS9 Voyager movie? I can actually answer that question, if you'll forgive me for this for further Star Trek discussion. Reason number one. Avery Brooks. Sorry, I lost his name for a second there. Avery Brooks. For those of you not aware, Avery Brooks is an amazing actor who hates acting. It is very, very, very stressful for him. It actually costs him, like he loses... I understand what it means. It's stressful. It's extremely stressful for him. And it's so terrible and so costly to him that he almost didn't even go forward with the rest of Deep Space Nine. They almost replaced him for Deep Space Nine. Because he was thinking about just bowing out of it, because he didn't want to do it anymore. Avery Brooks and his whole thing with the screenwriters, or the Actors Guild, is part of why you don't really see Cisco in any of the video games. Just to name another example of that concept here. Yeah. And it's such a shame, because Avery Brooks, in my personal opinion, is a phenomenal actor. But I get where he's coming from. Acting is not for everyone, and it is a very, very, very stressful job, especially if you care about the end result, and Avery Brooks clearly does. Hey, Mr. Nowhere. What's up? So that's the reason why you've never had a DS9 thing, because they would have to do it without Cisco. And, I mean, do I need to finish that sentence, you know? As for why Voyager never got a thing, well, Voyager never had the backing necessary politically or economically in order to actually justify a full-budget movie. A much easier answer. Yes, Brekor, that is correct. It is the same setting. Warcraft and WoW are the same setting. Now, if you're referring to the Warcraft movie, that is a different setting. I didn't mean to kill that guy. But I committed, so screw it. Now, let's go back to answering Magister's question again. Seath is what I believe to be a Loa, because everything about Seath just screams Loa, along with Anzu and Rukmar. They're the three Loa of the Arakoa. These would be the Loa of the Kaliri, the Dread Ravens, and the Wind Serpents, respectively. Is the three things they are Loa of. And the three of them sort of had a cooperation with each other. But the thing is, Seath really, really, really didn't like Rukmar. I'm sorry, Azura. Okay. So... Oh, you dick. I was just about to save him. So Seath hatched a plan to work with Anzu to kill and consume Rukmar. Rukmar being the Kaliri one, the one way up in the sky, the sun god, as they like to call her.
Without the sky.
Depends on the world, darker. However, it is worthy of note that there are wind serpents on both Azeroth and Draenor, as in native wind serpents. Which either means that they had simultaneous development despite the different worlds, or, and I find this slightly more likely, the Titans like to pattern the lives they make. I actually want to talk about this a little bit, so I'll get back to answering your question in just a second, Magister. Have any of you ever played Spore? Because I imagine at least some of you have. There's this game called Spore, and after a while, you get to a point where your interstellar empire is so advanced that you... when you're going to colonize new worlds and whatnot, you tend to pattern what you're doing. I mean, you've made a few bajillion worlds already, and you need to get to that tier 3 habitat in order to actually fully be able to colonize the planet, right? So, in order to actually do... I know this is going to sound like gobbledygook to those of you who haven't played the game, but for those of you who have, you know what I mean by this. So it gets to the point where, when you've made your first 50 or so worlds, for me it's more like 10, you basically always pick up this herbivore, this carnivore, these 2 herbivores, this carnivore, these 2 herbivores, this carnivore. So you got 6 herbivores and 3 carnivore species that you just seed across the whole galaxy because you're tired of trying to vary it up, because you're just trying to get more worlds built, damn it. So again, I actually, and I know that's a weird parallel, but I genuinely think the Titans kind of do a similar thing. I think that they kind of patterned their seeding of the worlds in a similar manner, because they're the freaking Titans. Their patterned thinking is pretty much their entire hat. You know? Populous for the win. Vandalia, it is non-canon. It is no more canon to WoW than... You know, it's hard coming up with examples. Okay, I got a great example. The comic Marvel Universe is not canon... Oh, you poor thing. Yeah, let me help you. No, it's okay. The comics of the Marvel Universe are a completely different canon to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. AKA, that's why we call it the MCU, as opposed to referring to it as just as just Marvel. Make sense? So, Warcraft movie, totally different thing. Consider it as such. So in case you haven't noticed what's happening here, periodically, and indeed the fact that it's happening this commonly just says something about how messed up the Highborn, the adherents of Rukmar are at this point. They'll just periodically fly over. I haven't caught one actually flying over yet, but you've seen them dropping down. And they'll just drop one of the Arakoa down here, and there's this small explosion as the curse takes hold. And then, well, they turn into these things. They lose their wings, and they become consumed by the curse of Seath. So, let's, why does my nose itch? I hate nose itches. They're the worst itches. So, as I said, Seath hatched this plan in order to take down Rukmar. Wrong one. And, in so doing, consume Rukmar's power and become an even more powerful Loa than ever before, except I think I'm the one who thinks they're Loa. But I do think they're Loa. Not too long thereafter, it turns out Anzu, the one who was working with Seath against Rukmar, completely betrayed Seath and tried to completely destroy Seath, but failed, and a little bit of Seath was left, and that created this place, Sethic Hollow. I hope you're paying attention, because this is pretty much the similarity to BC's and the whole Sethic thing there. I wouldn't even try Mr. Nowhere if he's being that. I'm trying to think of a word that is nice to say what I want to say here. I can't come up with one. If he's being in that manner of things, then I mean, you could get him to try it, I guess, on your account or whatever, but I wouldn't even bother at that point. So. Well, there's another word, and I actually couldn't think of it. Oh my god, this itches today. Yes, it is Necro, absolutely. We do know that the Loa can and do obtain power from other Loa. That's a very common thing, actually. Especially if that Loa happens to be a particularly powerful or evil Loa. By the way, Anzu was also cursed by consuming Seath. So Anzu actually... Seath kind of got the final laugh on there. And Rukmar got off scot-free. Of course she did. I had a perfect word for this, and I was talking about it when we first initiated talking about warlords, and I was saying how some people will always be, insert word here, blah. And some people will always be blah. They'll look at warlords and say, well, warlords is crap. It's a dumb expansion. WoW sucks. Everything sucks. There's a word for that, and I used a very specific word, and I'm trying to think of what it was, because it fit perfectly. It's all about generalizing. It's all about not thinking in terms of details or you know, in terms of specifics or circumstances or reality, completely ignoring the complexities of life, completely ignoring that a situation has multiple things to it. Yeah, it's a form of oversimplification where they look and say, oh, it's crap. It's crap because of blah. And you see that a lot. Hell, we saw that in Pandaria, remember? Pandaria is crap. Why is Pandaria crap? Well, Pandaria is crap because of pandas. Kung Fu Panda is why Pandaria is crap. That lack of ability to think about it. And I can't remember what the hell the word was. Anywho, moving on.
A dark wind is blowing.
My attempts to bottle the pooled blood have failed. It breaks down and dissipates when taken away from Seeth's bones. But I have high hopes for this congealed form. Excellent, excellent. Go ahead, drop those into the cauldron.
Beware the burning sky.
Thank you kindly. I will notify you of the results later. Yeah.
This curse has not broken me yet.
They have suffered a fate worse than death. But at least they're free. Sethic are breeding vile wind serpents from Seeth's blood and bones. With these creatures, they will tear apart the sky. Someone tell Nirzaz to unmute me. I mean, everyone else can hear me, right? Because that's not muted and that's not muted. So, the nests are protected by powerful magic, but Anzu's gaze should penetrate them with ease. Let us visit these nests and destroy them.
The Talon King will guide us.
Many years have passed since anyone has been in contact with Anzu. He faded away, as Arak did, to take refuge in the shadows. If we are to coax him back, we should make an offering. Seeth took the sky from us all. It seems fitting to take the wings of his children. Let us get to work. We have work to do. Even more than Shrek 2, Formosan? For shame. As you can see, they haven't fully crafted these wind serpents yet. Who puts wings on a snake? Honestly. Honestly, Vandalia, I was very hyped for Warlords when they were building up to it. I really was. And as I said before, I do genuinely enjoy Warlords. I do. I've enjoyed going back through it with you guys. In killing Seeth, Anzu was the first to bear his dying curse. By the way, the Talon Guard are specifically those Arakoa who revere and venerate Arak, the Talon King. Speaking of which, let's change our title really quick here. Talon Queen. Believe it or not, I actually really like that title. I actually had it on for a while just because I liked it. I will freely admit, I'm one of those people, I know I've said this before, I was one of those people who looked at Pandaria and said, that's gonna be crap! And Pandaria is my favorite expansion. So I was walking into Warlords with a little bit of an open mind. Admittedly. I do too, Equilibrium. It's just, you know, I happen to be playing a female character right now, so I can't be Talon King Velvax's. I don't even know what to say to that, Formosan. Of course, I see that every day, in everyday life. As he grappled with the curse, Anzu commanded his dread ravens to eradicate the blood of Seath. In one bloody night, the children of Seath were eradicated. Let us make for the Talon Altar. Yeah, I think it's just a coffee thing for Mosin. It didn't make me laugh, and it didn't make me feel, and it didn't do anything else for me, so I was just like, you know. I suppose I could see that, Magister, even though I actually can't see that at all and don't understand whatsoever. But, you know, differences of opinion and all that. Actually, my in-lore excuse is very, very obvious. I think Arak himself declared us to be his successor. All I gotta say about it is, this is not the greatest song in the world. Oh, sorry. I actually don't like Jack Black either. I like that one line of that song. Ahem. Holy crap. Your arrival is timely, mortals. The Sethic must be stopped. Yes, I know technically it should be called Sethic, but yeah. Talonguard, ready the altar beneath the broken spire. Hero, meet us when you have broken the cult.
Shadows gather.
Ickis was once respected sage amongst the adherents, but his search for the truth of Arak's fall led to his own banishment. Ickis became obsessed with Arak, even claiming to be the old hero reborn. He commands the Sethic, promising untold power and a new age of darkness. Know this, Ickis is no Talon King. Slay the delusional fool. Search him for anything useful. He is known to collect trinkets.
Keep to the shadows.
Even in death, Seath exerts influence. The Sethic cult was born of this influence, led by a false king in service of a dead god. Silence their prophets, for they seek a future of black seas and blighted skies. Defeat their chosen champions, for they have pledged themselves to a lie. I could not defeat this curse, and long ago resigned myself to rest in darkness. But the Sethic are performing dark rituals to draw me back, binding me to Seath's will. Should they succeed, it'll be like it was in BC. Despite the rituals, disrupt the rituals so that I might return with my own free will. Then together we'll bring an end to Seath's return. Don't believe so, no, Vandalia. You know that's true, Formosan. I hadn't thought about it like that. Hi, Chris Jones. Welcome back. Seriously, Bragwin? Oh my god. Rubberneckers! May they all burn and rot in the fire. I'm kidding. They seriously just need to stop rubbernecking. So this is actually a nice little tidbit. This, I think, is a good example of a callback rather than laziness. This whole area is basically Sethic Halls, the dungeon from BC. It's just being redone in about 28 years ago as opposed to now. Basically, all the mobs here have the abilities they had in Sethic Halls, just toned down a little bit, so it's, you know, 1-player friendly instead of 5-player friendly. And that's what this entire storyline is about. In fact, Ickis himself is still the main boss of this area. Ickis being, you know, trinkets, you know, that guy. Oh, sorry, I missed that question earlier. Do I think the could be playable? Absolutely. Do I think they will be? A lot trickier. Do I think they should be? Yes, I think they should. Yeah, I don't remember Sethic, Heroic Sethic when it first started. It was one of the harder heroics. Not on the lines of, say, Arcatraz, but still. Anyways, yes, Sethic Halls would technically be up here. But I didn't mean geographically, I meant in every way other than geographically. After all, remember, all of this terrain that we're on right now was lost to the Twisting Nether in our Draenor. All of this is gone. So, you know, they had to move somewhere, right? And yeah, as is evidenced by the fact that it took me, what, that would be like 6 years to get the mount to drop. I'm aware of that setting, yeah, Formosan. In some of the Final Fantasies, they do stuff with that. After they were trapped here, Vandalia. I think. Actually, I'm not going to say that with 100% certainty, because they may retcon that. But the original implication, back in BC, was that he was born after they ended up trapped in Outland. Times change. That's probably the only good quote Garrosh has ever had in his life. That times change quote. I love that quote. It actually gives me a bit of chills because it's very significant to what he's doing, too. And as an aside, the way that that line is delivered and the way that that whole thing is presented, that also mentions to another... it took me many, many years to get that mount. Craze. The way that line is said makes me think, personally, that the intent was for this to basically alter the timeline, at least to some extent. You know, times change. And the idea of what would happen if you went to Draenor, but one major event was changed, you know? And showing this, oh my god, here's all this incredible different timeline, you know? And then, no, bubble. Draenor bubble! It wouldn't surprise me if the writers really wanted to do an alternate timeline thing, and then they realized how that would be a mess to keep track of. And it would. Like, they could do it. I've actually already told you guys how you could do that and accomplish it. And so they backed out of it and said, no, bubble. Look, all I'm saying is times change. Usurper, I am the Talon King. Trinket! I love you, BC. Except for this one guy. I can't get behind the pillar in time. Ah, screw it. Oh no, he's gonna get me. The blood of Seath is a gift, not a curse. We will show them all. So what you're seeing here is the adherents of Seath as opposed to the adherents of Rukmar. Two religious zealot groups, both of whom are incredibly wrong and both of whom are very evil. Funny how that works out. And the people we're helping are the ones trapped in the middle of those two. Seriously. I have not actually heard that argument, Magister, no. Sounds like a dumb argument. Sorry, I shouldn't be so blunt. In my personal opinion, that argument lacks in intelligible monomegados. I can't do that. Dumb argument. Moving on. Have you silenced the false king? A bracelet? Rather plain looking. There's an inscription on the inside. To my father, may Rukmar illuminate your path with love lithic. What cannot be? This is Terok's bangle. It was a gift from his daughter. He wore it for years until... Well, we'd better return it. Arak built a memorial to Lithic not far from Talon Watch. It should rest there.
Beware the burning sky.
I'll debate it foremost, and I have a huge queue of exploration games, and obviously I don't own Might and Magic, so... Weapons and zealotry do not make one strong. They turned to Seethe because they were too weak to face death. I feel their grasp slipping. Thank you, mortal! Wait, what happened? How did... But you... It is time to put an end to Seethe. I killed him before, and with your help, I will do so again. Ready yourself for a fight. The cultist will not stand idly by while we stamp out their god. So, someone asked earlier, aren't we just helping the religious zealots of Anzu? Yes and no. That's part of the great plight of the Arakoa people. And, one of the reasons why I feel so bad for them. And I'm happy we do manage to help several of them. Because, yeah, there are 3 groups of religious zealots amongst the Arakoa, and all of them are bad. There's the religious zealots of Rukmar, the religious zealots of Anzu, and the religious zealots of Seethe. And all of them are basically tearing apart their society and scrabbling around trying to hold their bits. The adherents of Rukmar are the most obviously evil. I mean, for God's sakes, I have explained for minutes upon minutes on end, possibly hours at this point, about how the adherents of Rukmar are so horrifically evil. And the Sethic ones are also obvious, but we'll be seeing in the future just how messed up the adherents of Anzu are. By the way, I want to show this off proper-like, so we're going to get in the air here. There's Seethe's corpse. What's left of him there. Or, it's an altar done in his style. Both of these are acceptable answers to what we're looking at here. I'm going to wait for that other player to be done with the event, because hashtag other players. I guess I'll go do this while I wait. Who are you? Why have you stirred me? That bracelet, I gave it to my father so long ago, before the fall. My father's bangle sat here for ages before that imposter Ica stole it away. I thank you for returning it, but I have no need for keepsakes. Take it with my blessing. If there are still Talon priests loyal to the true Talon King, bring it to them. Yeah, by the way, I'm sorry, I wanted to show this off too. You can kind of tell from the sky view here that this used to be one of the spires. It's pretty obvious when you see it from above like this. You can kind of see where Seethe died. And it makes sense that when a Loa is destroyed like that, you know. Oh yeah, Rashad is awesome. Is this guy still fighting? You're taking too long. Seriously, why are you taking so long? God, hashtag other players. Seriously. See this dead, yay! So... Are we done here, Anzu? Okay, we're done here. Cool, cool. By the way, some people have theorized that Gruul is actually a Loa of Gron. I'm not sure I buy that. But it would be an interesting idea, wouldn't it? Given that we know for a fact that Gron are an offshoot of the Magnaron, though, I'm not sure I can go with it. So we defeat Seethe. Seethe has died twice, but his curse lives on. It seems we will never be rid of it. The cursed ones are safe from Seath, but their sky still burns. They will need help from the Ravens. Find me at Vale Terok. Let me just get on my undead horse here. I tend to be a little more strict about what I call an actual god when it comes to fictional settings. Like, in my opinion, nothing in the Warcraft setting qualifies to call itself a deity. Nothing. The only possible exception was Elune, and I'm still very on the fence about that one.
It's about time.
Huh? What do you have here? Lithic actually spoke to you? Or some shade of her, at least. Fascinating.
I will see you again.
Okay, now we gotta go do that stuff. And we know a few additional tidbits about Elune from Legion, but still nothing concrete. They have made a distinction that Elune is not Azeroth, though. Which is a bit of a shame. I thought that was a neat idea, and kind of fit the lore perfectly. Then again, they could just be pulling a bait and switch on us, so who frickety knows at that point. Hooks have been run through his limbs, and a shattered hand insignia carved into his beak. Ah. Beneath Skizik's outstretched hand, letters are scrawled into the dirt. Thorn Mother. Ravagers brought in by the shattered hand have taken over the aviary and are breeding fast. If left alone, they could be swarming the entire area, including Vale Terok, in a matter of days. Miraculously, a single egg survived the Ravagers. Okay. I'll grab that. Come here. Hey, Icky. What? You want food? I can get you food, Icky. Who's a good Icky? Who's a good Icky? So, no, Vandalia. Loa and the Ancients are the same thing. I usually use the term Loa because I think it's a good all-around descriptor for them. And the fact that I had the theory for years that the Ancients were Loa, and then I was proven right. So it's always nice to adhere to a theory that you were right about, you know what I mean? Anyways, so why did the Rookmar adherents hate Anzu? That's actually a very easy answer. Religious zealotry. I'm kind of being serious. Actually, I'm totally being serious. The idea here was, well, anything that is not of Rookmar is just wrong. You know, clearly, the only logical reason why the curse would have affected Anzu is if Anzu was simply not loyal enough to the tenets of Rookmar. If Rookmar had been with, if Anzu had been with Rookmar from the very beginning, clearly Anzu would have never actually been influenced by the curse. The only people that bad things happen to are bad people. That's why those bad people must be tossed down into the depths, to be cursed forever, to live their cursed lives, as they deserve! Yeah, I know, right, Darker? It may sound like an odd question, Necro, but where are you getting that from? Because I don't recall anything about Rookmar herself being evil. I mean, I'm not denying it. I can't recall anything about it. Everything I know about Rookmar indicates that she is a Loa. You know, I don't mean like literally. I mean like she's a typical Loa. She doesn't actually care about the lower people unless they're doing something that pleases her, you know? Like most Loa. So... I'm not sure I could think of anything in fiction I've seen that would qualify as a true deity off the top of my head for most of them. Icky looks up at you, foot clamped in beak, and lets out a muffled cheep. Ooh, grubs! Nom 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 nom. Thankfully, Icky snatches them out of your hand before you can proceed. Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta read this whole thing. You hold up the handful of grubs and steel yourself, preparing to chew them up as a mama bird would. Thankfully, Icky snatches them from your hand before you can proceed. Apparently, Kaliri don't do that. I remember that story, Necro. See, I personally always interpreted that as that was just more, for lack of a better term, propaganda. So I don't know. Yes and no, respectively, Magister. Believe it or not, Loa don't really have the ability demonstrated anywhere to mind control. They can do a lot of stuff. They can even coerce you to their will. They can offer you prizes and treasures, but you can't really just MC a whole race. It doesn't actually work like that. There you are.
A dark wind is blowing.
Not what I was expecting when I heard Iskar was sending help. No matter. You'll have to do. The adherents came for me, but I was already hiding. I watched from the shadows as they ransacked my hut. Then I watched the Shattered Hand arrive and butcher them like dinner fowl. It seems everyone's after us these days. One of these orc thugs made off with my scrying orb. I'll be needing it back if I'm going to be any use to Iskar.
Tread carefully.
The Shattered Hand is made up of orcs who call no other clan home. I've actually already told you about this. They are sadistic warriors who maim their bodies, perhaps in a show of solidarity, or maybe they just enjoy the pain. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is they are expanding their territory, butchering anything in their path.
The talent
They must be dealt
with.
with. Okay, I think we can handle that. I would agree with Necro's statement on that. Which is funny, because he's completely, in more ways than one, completely alien to the world of Azeroth. Oh, excuse me. Okay. You just keep attacking that air there, boy. Yep. Blizzard's definition of gods is pathetic. I could pick some random Draenei, tell one person to bow before them, and he would qualify as a god. It's stupid. But that's why I try not to use that word, because to be completely blunt, I don't actually think, as I said before, pretty much anything in Warcraft actually qualifies. With the sole possible exception of Elune, and even that I don't actually think qualifies. But if we go by Blizzard's extremely loose definitions, a huge variety of things apply. Literally hundreds. Including ancestral spirits, Loa, elemental beings, demons, old gods, void lords. I've always thought of Ravagers as a very tamed down version of Xenomorphs. Legitimately. You know, very, basically a creature whose only purpose is to continue to exist and breed, and doesn't really serve any other purpose as an animal. Isn't really part of the ecosystem, in other words. I don't think that qualifies as a spoiler. It's just people in the game being told what we and who read the books already knew. Although I think that's a good thing. More of this story needs to be told in the game, damn it. You shouldn't have to go dig into the books and watch my lore runs just to get all the details and nuances. Damn it. But I know, money's a thing. For now. Well, the odds that Draenor is a sleeping titan is close to 0. For two really big reasons. Big reason number 1. Yes, Khadgar does that, and then he becomes super powerful, and then he becomes the main character, and we play as Khadgar for the rest of WoW. The player character, you know, your character dies, and you just play Khadgar from that point on. Anywho, what was I talking about? Draenor. Reason number one, Draenor, we know for a very, very, very close to 100% certainty that Draenor had the Titans present on it. Which means that the... Oh, damn, did he die? I can't res him either, he's a Worgen. Damn it, I'm sorry, dude. I would have helped you if I could. Yes, the player Khadgar is what we're going to be from now on. The Titans wouldn't leave a world that had a Titan soul alone. Especially given how rare it was becoming, finding a world that had a Titan soul in it. So any world that had a Titan soul at all, any world, is going to be of huge importance to the Titans. Hello, sis. What's up? Okay. Hang on. I remember that. Very sorry to all our YouTube viewers. Had to deal with things. RL. Yes, that works. How's I doing? I've really lost track. Oh, we were talking about Titans and how Draenor is probably not a Titan soul. The other reason that Draenor is probably not a Titan soul is because, given how much importance has been put on that and the fact that they keep emphasizing the whole Azeroth is important thing, it seems unlikely they would go that route with Draenor. Very, very belated answer to that question. Sorry. There's really no good answer for me when I have to get up and deal with something like that in the middle of a stream. Also, I tend to agree with the fact that when I first heard about Azeroth being a sleeping titan, it was like, oh man, that makes so much sense. That's horrible. That, if you think about it, and it mentioned this explicitly in the Chronicles book, like the more life gets to flourish on a Titan world, that's true, Gnarlex. The more life gets to flourish on a Titan world before it becomes a Titan, the more fleshed out and developed and whatever a Titan is. So it's in the Titans and the Keeper's best interest to ensure that as many life forms as possible flourish on that world before they're all wiped out in service of the new Titan being born. Which is a very Titan philosophy. Oh my god, seriously, Ventures? I don't even know where to start with that. Okay. Titans are worlds. A Titan is literally the soul of a planet having gotten up, basically. Really? I didn't want to fight you. Fine. Die. How's the interview going anyways, Brigman? No! Even though you'd probably be making more money than me, Brigman. Actually, you'd probably make more money than me now. So yeah, that's the summary. That's the super summary, Ventures. A Titan is actually a planet that has been given life, basically. Or is life. It's different. Stop aggroing me. You don't want to aggro me. You want to go away and stop wasting my time. There you go. Good boy.
Shadows gather.
Blood for blood. As it should be. In lore, Ragnaros.
What are we without the sky?
Basically, yes, Venters. It's also why the Legion is so interested in Azeroth and always has been. Azeroth is the last known Titan soul that has not yet become a Titan. It's a nascent Titan. Of course, they still have the option to write more nascent Titans out there, but the point is that fewer and fewer world souls were being born in the galaxy, and like I said, Azeroth is basically the last one. Have you found the orb? Something's not right. She's been tampered with! Someone else has been using my orb to enter the realm of shadows.
Beware the burning sky.
Soon after the orcs swept in, Vale Akraz was laid waste by a beam of light from Skyreach. It seems they missed their true target. Zelik is still there, hiding in the realm of shadow. And someone else as well, the orc assassin who used my orb. Take this, drink it in Vale Akraz, find Zelik, and be careful. It's a little more potent than the last one.
Tread carefully.
I will make for Vale Terok. Time is short. We have many preparations to make. That's what I am assuming as well, Necro. It's kind of similar to the FF7 thing, aka, imagine if the world of FF7, Gaia, was a living being that needed more and more life stream to awaken as a living being, and so it needs to cultivate a certain type of life energy, spirit energy in this case, to live. And yes, if Azeroth wakes up, everyone on it is very, very dead. The Bone Chewer clan is not here. As I was actually asked that earlier, and my response remains the same. The Bone Chewer clan was a clan that was formed later and did not exist at this point in history, so they never actually formed in this timeline. What? You? How did you cross over to this side? And elixir. Powerful one at that.
His curse has not broken me yet.
Well, you are not stabbing me yet. This is a good sign. Those orcs got a hold of Ishal's orb, did they? I would explain the dangerous-looking fellow who crossed into this realm before you. Not everyone handles the transition as gracefully as you did. Theof is still grappling with his own mind, stumbling about, muttering nonsense. Soon he'll be drawn to the orb again, which would presumably lead him to Vale Tarok. Better to take him out now while he's still muddled.
The Talon King will guide us.
Puffed strawberry iced cream. Darker. Not ice cream, iced cream. Many Arakoa died in Vale Akraz. From the outside, all seems still, empty. But in this place between worlds, death never goes unnoticed. Stray life essence seeps through from the other side, a feast for the beings who prowl here. Slay the shadow creatures, and gather from their corpses the fine dust they produce. I will need much of it to perform the rites of the Talon King.
Keep to the shadows.
Also, hi Deutsch. It's okay. A world soul can't get high. Thank God. The lol runner. But then everyone would assume all I do is play League of Legends all day. So you remember how I said remember when we first entered the zone, we saw that death ray? Well, here's where it hit. For a bit of perspective, this crater didn't used to be here. Ground level used to be right about here, as you can see from the surrounding terrain. So, that's kind of what the death ray that they have is capable of doing. Ignore the old god thing. Ignore it. Ignore it. Okay, okay. It's gone. We're good. In case you're wondering, this is the Shadow Realm, which basically means that these are actually old god, or, well, void creatures that we are interacting with around here. In our universe, the Arakoa, basically, in their desperation to survive both the demonic horde and their upper brethren, gave in to the old gods of Draenor and gave into the void. In this setting, well, they don't have to do that, because we're here. So we end up actually basically saving the majority of the Arakoan people from the clutches of the void, which is nice. I suppose now is as good a time as any to spoil something for those of you who don't know it, because I'm sure some of you who do know it wonder why I haven't referenced it yet. The Arakoa have a little bit of a thing with being desperate and doing stupid things in their desperation. The aforementioned giving in to the Void Lords, or the Old Gods, excuse me, of Draenor is a good example of that. Oh no, he stole my face! It's beautiful. And so, in this setting, there's a particular Arakoa who will be driven by desperation and madness and hatred and rage and pain and jealousy and all sorts of other horrible, horrible things like that to give in to something, well, debatably worse than the old gods in the void, namely the Legion. And I'm referring specifically to Iskar, our main quest giver, the guy we've been interacting with so much throughout these quests, the Shadow Priest. Yeah, he will submit to the Legion if the Legion will use their fell magic to grant them back their wings. And they can and will do that. Why did WKC get... Why did that... Oh, because you posted a link. Hi, WKC. Yes, we still have link protection on. Yeah, anyways, what's up, dude? That's why I'm like, why did it... Man, WKC, there's like no reason to hit him. He's not a troll. See you around, Formosan. Anywho, right now, the website is as developed as it's getting for the moment, because the next step would be the notification app. And by app, I mean built-in plugin to the website, which is going to be like, hey, we're streaming right now. The idea being, I don't even know if I've told you this already, but the idea being that you could basically sign up and it will then toss an email to you saying, hey, I am streaming now, and that way we won't have to rely on Twitch's incredibly unreliable system. And I could finally unchain Twitch from my Twitter and my... I guess that's it, actually. My Twitter. Yep. That's also kind of going concurrent with the app development, where there will also be a push notification style thing on the mobile app, which will serve the exact same function. You'll get a little pop-up, a little notification on your phone that'll be bzzz, Arshin Gaia or the Lorerun or whatever is streaming right now. We're still working on that, though. It is surprisingly difficult to get exactly what I want done with that, because there's plenty of not everyone does roaring. In fact, most people don't. You'd be surprised, because there's a lot of built-in plugins that I could just buy or borrow, depending on if they charge or not, and just say, hey. But most of those either do more than I want them to do, or less. Like, some things actually have a subscription service, for example. You pay to get all these extra features that I have no interest or purpose in. It's like, okay, that doesn't help. Or they have too little. And so, yeah, we're basically having to... Well, I shouldn't say having to, but we are building a custom setup for that. And by we, I mean Third, and so, yeah. And I will fling all the monies at him as necessary to make that happen. You know those elixirs you have been so eagerly quaffing? They're made of this stuff. Now with this much dust, we can delve deep enough to reach the Talon King's refuge.
Beware the burning sky.
We must begin preparations for the Talon King's return. From within this realm, I can travel quickly to Vale Tarak. You, however, should return to the other side. You are powerful, and will attract unwanted attention from all the old gods in this world. Oh, hey, what's up?
A dark
Oh,
wind
good,
is
you're back.
blowing.
Did you enjoy yourself in there? What power could reduce a village to ashes in the blink of an eye? The adherents claim it is the will of Rukmar. It is a lie, obviously. They did nothing to earn such power. In truth, they stumbled upon it, rather unwittingly, in a hole in the ground. Come visit me near the excavation site. We must understand this technology if we are to defeat it.
Keep to the shadows.
See you soon. Also, no, WKC, we are not doing that. I thought about making the shift away from Patreon to doing my own subscription service based solely on my own website. And that's actually feasible, and in fact what I'll probably do long term. The problem is the amount of work and effort and prep time that takes is colossal, and I know that. I've done that before for other people.
His curse has not broken me yet.
Those who were not incinerated at Vale Arkraz are forced to help the adherents excavate the very weapons aimed at their heads. Anyone trying to escape is vaporized by the Overseer's Apexis turret. With these effigies, they won't know anyone is left. Place one near an enslaved worker and observe as it creates a perfect copy. It even cloaks the subject in shadow so they can slip away.
The Talon King will guide us.
The Apexis are long gone, but their legacy lies preserved in ancient chambers beneath Arak. Legions of dormant constructs, crystals flush with solar energy, magical techniques lost to the ages, the Apexis left behind caches of immense power, of which the adherents of Rukmar have begun to unearth. Bring me the cores of the reactivated constructs patrolling the excavation site. Those crystals are the basis of Apexis technology, the key to our enemy's devastating power.
Tread carefully. Shadows gather.
When I was still a guard in Skyreach, I was tasked with protecting the sisters Verox and Kashyyyks. They were prodigies. At an age when most sun acolytes could barely read, the sisters conjured familiars of pure sunlight to illuminate their textbook in the small hours. Now they unravel the secrets of Apexis, and the excavation has breached 2 ancient chambers. Enter those chambers, kill the sisters, before they reap the terrible rewards of their discoveries.
Keep to the shadows.
So, let's talk finally about the Apexis, although as I mentioned earlier, we don't actually really have a lot to talk about the Apexis. In fact, their mystery is all the more interesting for the all near total lack of information about them. So let's talk about a few things we do know about the Apexis. First of all, these things right here, these are Apexis constructs. These things that are trying to attack me. They are not Arakoa constructs. I want to make that clear distinction. Remember how I mentioned the analogy about the Arakoa being a child with a gun? Well, what I meant by that was the fact that the Arakoa didn't invent any of this. They didn't invent the death laser up there. They didn't invent those constructs, and they didn't invent much of their magic that involves the sun. All of that was gifted to them by... Well, I shouldn't say gifted to them. All of that they found in their studies of the Apexis. The Apexis were extremely advanced and actually ruled the world alongside, in harmony with, the old Ogre Empire. Not the Gorian Empire, the big one. The multi-continental Ogre Empire we've referenced several times. And so these digs are very, very important to them, obviously, because they're trying desperately to get more of that power since they need it so significantly and they barely understand it. Now, the Apexis
What are we without the sky?
were rather talented in what they did and how they functioned. That's interesting. Because the Apexis had the ability to crystallize energy. As in, literally take energy from the sun or from, well, solar energy in general, and actually turn it into a physical object, which they then used as a power source. Which is kind of cool, actually. As you might imagine. Yeah, do it. Do it! You're welcome. They also had a great deal of knowledge and understanding of the sun in general, and very advanced magic technology. They, like I said, that giant death beam, that's Apexis. So, you kind of get a feel for exactly how strong those things were. That's basically all we know about the Apexis. I'm serious, that really is kind of it. There is very, 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 very little information about the Apexis Society, other than everything I just shared with you, which would basically fit in a paragraph. It's another one of those cut content situations. You know, the Apexis were pretty clearly designed to be fleshed out more, especially since this plot line that goes throughout the Spires of Arak is clearly designed to be followed up on. And basically isn't, except for one brief mention in a raid into non-jungle. And, excuse me, and one brief mention in the Garrison campaign. I might as well be all-inclusive here. Because, yeah. So yeah, the Apexis, I would love to know more about them. As I mentioned before, if you'll notice in the information I gave away about what we know about them, what species they were is not one of the things I listed. Because we don't actually... Obviously, the obvious assumption is that they are Arakoa. Old, you know, ancient Arakoa, just like the ancient ogres. But we don't actually know if that's true. We know so little about them that we don't even know their species. The one thing I find most fascinating about them, and you get this from archaeology, is the fact that they coexisted with the ancient Ogre Empire. And I don't know if that's a forced coexistence, as in, you know, the fact that they had so much technology and magic and power they were able to basically hold off the ancient Ogre Empire, or if they actually had a genuine cooperative with the ancient Ogre Empire. It is worth noting we don't actually know a particularly large amount about the ancient Ogre Empire either. Again, more of that content that should have been fleshed out more. We do know the ancient Ogre Empire did start some of the more... It basically started knocking over the dominoes on some of the more horrible aspects of the Gorian Empire, the rampant abuse of slaves being a big example there. Yeah, no kidding, Psychotic. It could have been a Cold War situation. That's another excellent idea. It is entirely feasible. Naturally, with all this wonderful backstory and lore and the possibilities of how they could flesh out this massive, incredible civilization, the best possible thing they could do is to go ahead and just turn them into an extremely boring grind. That's the real shame of the Apexis grind, too. It wasn't even a daily grind. Blizzard tends to have pendulum theory when it comes to balancing. People complained about Cataclysm, so they discontinued plans for revamping entirely. Just cut them. People complained about the excessive amount of dailies in Pandaria, so they basically removed the dailies in Warlords, and instead with this Apexis method, which was, well, I don't want to speak for others, but I hated it. And I already explained much, much earlier why I hated it. I don't really feel the need to rehash that, but man, it was boring. Oh. I mean, oh my god. And it was the worst kind of boring. It was the kind of boring that was actually irritating to do, in addition to being boring. It's like, if I wanted to just sit down and put my nose to the millstone, I couldn't. I was disallowed that option. I had to go and do my one thing, which was dull and boring and stupid, and then wait till tomorrow, and then do my one thing again, and oh my god. It's also probably, it was very irritating to me that it was such a slog, at least when I first hit 100. I don't know if anybody else had this issue too, but when I first hit 100, doing the Apexis grind was very, 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 very slow, because I could solo the Apexis dailies, even the solo ones, but it was just, it was a slog. I don't know what else to call it. It was just this massive, colossal slog. It took forever to kill anything, and I had to kill like 50-ish mobs, give or take. I forget the exact number, but it was a lot. And so it just became really, really, really dull. No, I think the original intention of adding the Apexis as a culture, as a lore aspect, was trying to flesh out what already existed more. They actually did some really good stuff with the Arakoa in general. They took what was effectively a few things that had been done just for design purposes or whatever back in BC, and actually turned all of that into, you know, multiple different cultures and societies, and backstories and history and all that fun stuff with the Arakoa here in the Spires of Arak. So, you know, I have a saying, credit where credit is due. Suppose I should read this. Solar energy courses through the slumbering constructs, their ancient servos whirring to life around you. It's too late to shut them down now. Outside, an Arakoan overseer bellows commands, each answered by the buzz of an Apexis beam carving away at the mountain. The turret... That turret would make short work of the constructs if you could command it. Ugh, go away. Go away, you're wasting my time. Ground dwellers need to learn your place! And he commands the beam to kill the outcasts, who are his own slaves, by the way. Because... shall rule the skies and all the lands below them. Because we are terrible and horrible and awful. I gotta be honest. I've talked a lot about the decadent cultures that exist in this setting. Honestly, I think the adherents of Rukmar, those bastards, are the worst. I mean that pretty sincerely. These guys are just messed up. See you around, Takoida. A comfortable-looking chair sits with sockets in its armrest. The Apexis interface slides into place with a satisfying click. Seems this is the seat for taking full command of the turret. Rifling through the cushion, you find a few spare coins. Hey, look, 15 gold and 80 silver. The Apexis constructs are about to emerge from the ancient chambers on a warpath. The Arakoa are sure to send more soul shapers to support them. The interface and the turret hum in resonance. Yep. Just sitting in my chair. Powering my death laser. This is admittedly one thing we can sort of assume about the... oh, hello. I suppose I should be paying some degree of attention. Whoops, that's my fault. One thing we can assume about the Apexis, they have a death laser that's controlled from a comfortable chair. So, I mean... that does legitimately say a lot about the way they think of things. So, I mean, yeah... And again, all this uses primarily solar energy. Wow. I honestly don't remember having this many issues with this quest the last time I did this quest. Oh well. It's okay. It's cumulative. I'm really actually pretty surprised by this, but whatever. Through the rock. Yeah, I'm just taking damage from something, even though there's nobody around me. That's actually feels like it's bugged. Whatever. Yeah, that's a good question. You'd think we could just be like, hang on, bzzz, and be done with it.
A dark wind is blowing.
Ah, well done. Even with my condition, I could sense the carnage from here. Must have been quite a shock. He's blind.
What are we without the sky? The Talon King will guide us.
The Apexis had every advantage, and yet they vanished. What could have happened? And that's the final mystery of the Apexis. We have no idea what happened to the ancient Apexis Empire. It just went away. Now, that's not true. We have one tiny bit of information which might lead to a theory about what happened to the Apexes. See, it was there. We find through archaeology this idea that they had built what they refer to as a skyship, and they had all journeyed onto this skyship, and basically that's it. That's all we know. That's the mention is the skyship. So the theory is that the Apexes got into their skyships, and they left. No idea what happened though, for reals. So, your guess is as good as mine when it comes to the fate of the Apexes. We know what happened to the ancient Ogre Empire. They just kind of slowly splintered out over time. Apexes technology is fascinating, isn't it? Machines powered by solar energy. Energy imbued with magic. Simply brilliant. But there's always a catch, and I think you found it. Bring the interface back to Vale Tarak, will you? I'll be along shortly with some Apexes cores. If my theory is right, we'll be able to turn the Adherent's own weapon against them.
Beware the burning sky.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to suddenly become refugees to Outland if that happens, Magister. God, I'm tired. Holy moly. Wait, you would want to live in Hellfire Peninsula, Magister? We need to have a talk. What did... Oh, there we go. God, really turned around there.
A dark wind is blowing.
It will take some time, but this device may be the key to our victory.
Tread carefully.
Good question, Bragwin. That would be very cool, Necro. But I haven't heard much about that, so I can't comment on it personally.
Let me tell you a story.
Rashad! You're awesome. Shame about Skizik's aviary. That's where Percy came from. Skizik was interested in the runts after he started breeding the big ones full-time. To be honest, I never liked those monstrous Kaliri.
Farewell.
BC reference.
Ah, hello.
Any word on Skizik? I see. At least the gavel is safe. As you may have guessed, it's another of the Talon King's relics.
Farewell, my friend. Do not believe your eyes.
Excellent work. Ishal and Zeliek have already begun the rites.
We hide no longer.
That's true, Narlix. Yay, I have Icky. Except I have Icky already. Yeah, come on, there we go. Hello, Icky. I put you in a cage! And then I delete you out of reality. Be gone, Icky. Nobody loves you. Delete! But seriously, I don't keep duplicates of pets, so... Hey, Anzu. These outcasts are not the only cursed Arakoa holding their ground in Arak. A curious cult has formed in worship of Ka'alu, my consort and keeper of my brood. They are considered to be quite... odd. Regardless, the outcasts will need their help. Without the wings of the ravens, Iskar can never take his fight to the Spires. Take this feather, place it in the offering basket. These so-called raven speakers will surely notice.
It's about time.
That is... That's a good question, Necro. We're not actually sure, and yes, we did, MPPY. That gavel was once known as Beakbreaker. In his final, darkest days, Tarak used it to perform grim, damnable acts of sacrifice. It's best not to dwell on those days. Tarak was sealed away deep within the shadows to rest and perhaps to heal. Making contact with him would take great deal of effort, so in the meantime, allow me to tell you of his more glorious exploits before the wretched curse took hold. Well, we'll do that in a moment.
Farewell for now.
First we make an offering to the Raven Speakers. You are not one of the flock, but you leave an impressive gift for the Raven Mother. You have, for the moment, earned my curiosity. What is it that brings you to us? Oh, you've come to learn the truth of things. You will need to test your dedication first, yes. The parchment of dust reads, "Put the featherless against one another so our claws remain unsullied." How wise the High Raven Speaker is to foresee this day. There is a great beast on the hillside to the west by the name of Stonescale. It has abducted one of the flock, and despite our many attempts, we have been unable to defeat it. Go, prove yourself by defeating this beast and rescuing Tillich. Fulfill your destiny in the name of the Raven Mother. Okay. I'll go fulfill my destiny. Well, in fairness, the Worgen didn't really know what they were doing. Oh, I rescued... Wait, what? I have found something covered in ichor and goo. I don't want this in my bags for much longer. Tillich's disappearance has caused great sadness to the flock. Ah, Tillich, dear friend, you have returned. All the acolytes missed your witty banter after the evening chants. Yes, your great test is done. You have fulfilled the requirement of the parchment of dust. Yes, I knew you were worthy. The writ of faith says that the great doubt will come in time of crisis, but one must put their trust in the Raven Mother and all will be as it should. Come, come, we will go to the High Raven Speaker. I also like the movement of the ground-based Arakoa, the outcasts. It actually looks like they're struggling to walk normally, as they should, given their deformed nature. It's a nice touch. You have come to us at a perfect time, yes. Soon the Raven Mother herself would join us here. Yeah. High Raven Speaker, this outsider has come to us just as is written. Yes. In the whispers of the Raven Mother, blessed she be. It was foretold in the Scroll of Order. That's the third one now, if you're keeping track. That upon the calling for a sign that we would receive one within 30 minutes or less. This is most fortunate, for we have already begun preparations for her arrival and have need of your assistance. Yeah, you notice the religious zealotry thing is a common theme amongst the Arakoa. I'm not sure that it's possible to have Arakoa that aren't religious zealots, except I know it is, because we have the Order of the Awakened. Our dear brother Sakara went to the Ravenscar with some of the flock to enact the great ritual of purification. No one has been sent back to the nest for supplies on the past day. Caught up in prayer, I suppose. I would go check on him, but I need to make sure the scribe didn't mess up her transcription of my latest sermon. Could you do it? I'll be there in, well, who knows. Sure. At last, our prayers have been answered. We had just arrived and become the servants of the headless fowl when the Bloodmane attacked out of nowhere. Clearly, this means the Raven Mother wishes to test our worthiness of her children. Fear not, we are steadfast and will fervently continue our prayers regardless of what may come. Although, if you can get rid of the Bloodmane and their leader, that would be a blessing as well. We came here to perform the ritual of calling to bring the return of the Raven Mother. We had distributed parts of the scroll to everyone and had just begun when we were attacked by the Bloodmane. Now most of our flock has been killed, and the fragments lay scattered across our homeland. The ritual was a failure, but we will not allow these mongrels to break our faith. We must continue our prayers here, but we'd be grateful if you'd recover the scroll fragments for us. Okay. So, here's some Saberon. I know. You're expecting me to launch into some big, in-depth lore explanation of the Saberon, their connection to the other races, the significance of their past and history, the cultural pathos they have going through them, the understandably historical reasonings behind the way their culture has developed the way it has, and so forth and so on. So the Saberon are cat people. Um, this quest was, weird doing this without flying, because the way the terrain works on these nests here. They are mean kitties, yes. They like to capture people and eat them. They are eaters of other sentients. And they're very, very violent. Although that's kind of true for absolutely everything that exists in this entire planet, so I don't think that's really saying anything. I mean, the least violent group on this entire planet are the fricking Shadow Moon Orcs, or at least they used to be. Think about that for a moment. They're not unintelligent. Really, they aren't. They are a sentient sapient race. They just have so little development that I have nothing to share with you. Anything. This is one of those blank slate or blank piece of paper situations. Anything I share with you would be something I'm basically making up. I could speculate on them, but honestly, I feel like Blizzard had the same thoughts that I do. Well, we have another violent tribal race in a violent tribal world, who is violent and tribal because it's a violent and tribal world. So, you know. That's true, we do have cannibals amongst us. So clearly all humans are evil. We should wipe out all humans. Kill all humans. Kill all humans. What happened to Tumblr, Gnarlex? What? I think they're just here to express the savagery of Draenor. They were one of the races that was wiped out when Draenor became Outland. Or they were a race that was wiped out by the demonic horde. Both of those are viable events for causing an extinction event. I just don't know which it is, because there's really not a lot of lore to discuss here. Really hoping the Chronicles book fleshes this out a little bit more. Ah, gotcha. No worries then, Gnarlex. Oh, I'm done. That's what I'm here for, Magister. Wait. By the Raven Mother's shadow, how can such a slaughter have happened to us? Hold on to your faith, scribe. Remember the lesson in the scrolls of the Dark Dawn. Ravens of the flock should stay together. Once the Raven Mother has returned and all her children in the nest, we will be truly safe. Of course. Your strength has given us time to rest and continue our rituals. May the Raven Mother ever keep you in her shadow. We must have all the sacred text. We cannot afford to leave even one unaccounted for. Ah, Copies of the ritual. Praise the Raven Mother! Praise the sun! I'm amazed they didn't go with the praise the sun joke here, by the way. I mean, it was just right there. Just, it was on the cup. Ready to be knocked out. And, yeah, anyways. It is said in the Journal of the Rising Sun that eating in the morning cannot be done without harming a few eggs. The Bloodmane matron, Ralshirara, feasts upon sacred raven eggs for her snacks. How dare she? She must die for her sins. Take the path south over the mountains to the accursed home of the Bloodmane, and take this trinket. It fell to us from the heavens as a sign of the Raven Mother's favor. Take it with you. You might have a chance. Oh yeah, okay. By like 2 years, I want to say, something like that. The Bloodcallaw are sadistic creatures. They've attacked the Ravenscar before and have stolen the eggs of the sacred ravens. While you're there, keep an eye out for the eggs. I'll be waiting for you at the nest with as many baskets for them as I can gather. That's my point, Necro. They never went with the joke with the adherents, even though it, I mean, they literally worship the sun. It is written in the Scroll of Sermons, bite the claw that strikes you. Theoretically, yes, Vandalia. Take the path south. You mean in August, by the way. Take the path south from here that leads over the mountains. There you will find those of their tribe who can use a primitive form of shamanistic magic. Slay them, remove their paws, and once you have obtained them, bring them back to the nest so they may be offered to the Raven Mother. Yeah, Dark Souls is a kind of an old game, okay? I mean, think about it. Yeah, you're right. Technically, September is correct. If you're asking if I'm going to do a stream about the Acclamation patch, I haven't decided yet, but I am inclined to do so. So, probably yes. Hang on, I gotta rip off the paws of other sentient beings. Give me a minute. It's okay, I take people's heads and skulls and all sorts of other horrible things. I think paws would just be a small issue, right? No, I feel you, Kay. I still think of The Matrix as a recent movie. You know, the first Matrix. Psst. It came out in the 90s. The best zone in Warlords? Ooh. I'm gonna give it to a straight tie between Frostfire Ridge and Shadowmoon Valley. This is my third favorite zone, though, right here. I am finished. My spirit will be with the Raven Mother soon. I beg of you, kill everyone! Okay. I mean, I was kind of going to do that anyways, because I'm the player character and genocide is basically all I know. Oh! Guys. So, I have to share something with you. I'm sure a lot of you have actually seen this already. So, we were talking about PvP and all sorts of things PvP related, and I was like, you know what? This is just very appropriate to the whole PvP thing, so I'm going to go ahead and toss this out there. And in a moment it'll link because I'm waiting for chat delay. That should be enough. Down you go. You know, that's a good point, sure you. That would have been a little too literal. The cries of the dead will soothe my sleep. Wait, that sounds horrible. Aren't they remaking something really stupid recently? Okay, I know that's not it. I heard when I went to see X-Men Apocalypse that they were remaking something else from an old IP recently, and I remember looking at it just being like, really? Also, I'm really sad, guys. I will probably not be seeing TMNT 2 in the theaters at all. Nobody wants to see it with me, and I don't like going to movies alone. Lol, as they say. One interesting point of note here. So, Obviously, the Bloodmane are a prime candidate for a primitive form of shamanistic magic, right? The thing is, they don't really act like they're shamans. They act like they're druids. Most of their spells are druidic in nature, and it's worth noting that the Arakoa themselves, the Highborn more specifically, are actually druids. They are making they're basically practicing druid spells. It just happens to be solar druid power rather than lunar and solar druid power. You know, they are out of balance, in other words. Haha. So, you know, no, not Ghostbusters. That's not what I'm referring to. I've known about that for a very long time. It was something I found out about last week. Anywho, so yeah, I find myself curious if the Saberon also practiced druidism instead of shamanism. I also find myself incredibly amused by the idea that the Arakoa, for all their, you know, oh, we are the advanced races, and we are the upper echelons, the crust of society, we are truly the most superior race in all the land, are actually incapable of simple shamanistic or arcane magiry because they're just too dumb for it, or inadvanced, or too arrogant, or however you want to take that. It's all good. Yeah, actually, Necro. Fairly good comparison there. I'm glad you liked it, by the way, Deutsch. I agree that the first Ghostbusters movie was good. Accidentally, too, because it was an accident, let's be honest with ourselves. Oh yeah, by the way, this is great. If you use the light beam on the cat boss, he gets a debuff called Get the Light, and he has to go chasing after it. Anywho, I would actually agree with that, Darker. They are so unadvanced, so caught in their own things. If I can parallel something from Babylon 5, this is approaching a spoiler for Babylon 5. It's not quite a spoiler, but I'm warning you, for anybody who wants to mute me for like the next minute, who doesn't want something about Babylon 5 spoiled, I'll understand. Okay, this is your big warning for this. You ready? In Babylon 5, there's a concept that creatures that develop psychic abilities don't develop sentience or sapience. They never become an intelligent race, because they never have to. In the Babylon 5 setting, the only races that actually develop to become fully sentient and sapient are the races that are... well, that did it for the same reason humans did. In other words, the fact that they needed some kind of edge that they did not have in base biology, right? The theory there being that that's the reason why, you know, animals don't have the ability to think and talk and go to outer space, because they didn't need to survive. But human beings needed to survive. They needed to act unfairly. You know what I mean? If you'd understand where I'm going with this is kind of similar to what I talked about with regards to the Taurans. In other words, the Arakoa leaned so heavily on their natural talents, their ability to fly, and their built-in claws and wings and longevity and all that, that they never actually developed technologically or magically, that they have an extremely crude form of druidism, which is completely tied into their particular religion, and they never actually developed past that point, because they never had to. Makes me wonder again about the old Apexis, and it's one of the reasons why I have that long-term theory that the Apexis are not Arakoa. You can stop muting me. I'm not talking about Babylon 5 anymore. Exactly, Necro. I talked about this all the way back in Mulgore when people were asking why the Taurans never became technologically advanced until someone else showed up and started, you know, showing them technology. And they took to it quickly because the Tauran were intelligent. They just never had to deal with that. There's actually a term. The summit of Mount Improbable can only be defeated by time and persistence. I forget the exact quote. I'm kind of butchering it here, so forgive me. But the idea here is that you don't advance unless you need to, is what it boils down to. If you are very strong and very agile and very durable, the odds are you'll be a less developed species. There's a reason the proto-drakes have never actually developed as a species on their own. They had to be uplifted by the keepers in order to be turned into the dragons. Ezra, would you like to buy some men's underwear? I think this is just... I can't even continue that joke. It's just so stupid. I swear their ad programs are just terrible. Like I said, I wasn't spoiling anything big about Babylon 5. It was more about the nature of the way evolution works, basically, in the setting, was all I was spoiling. It's only a spoiler if you really think about it. Yeah, if I ever get partnership on Twitch, I'll let you guys know. But by all means... That's a good question, Nerazaz. As I mentioned earlier, I have, like, no lore about the Saberons to share with you. Let it be known on this day that a stranger has returned victorious from slaying the flow of the flock. Praise... I'm just gonna start saying this. Praise the sun! It is written in the scroll of sermons that the Raven Mother is not patient, and neither am I. Do you have the pause for me? Yes, these will do nicely as an offering to the Raven Mother. May she feast upon our enemies. Thanks. Were you able to find the stolen raven eggs? Oh, these poor ravens have avoided a horrible future in the Bloodclaw lands. We will take far better care of them. Thank you. I wouldn't mind that, Narlex, honestly. See you around, Durker. The lives of all the flock are precious. I'm glad to know this murderers have been brought to justice. Thank you, Volvoxus. You've brought us great honor. All is now in place to begin the ritual of calling that will bring the Raven Mother back to the nest. We will fulfill all the tests we have put before you, so it's only fitting you join us and participate in the ritual. Soon the Raven Mother herself will appear before us. Oh, my feathers are tingling in excitement. Speak to me again when you're ready. It is written in the Tome of the Falling Sands, time waits for no one. The Raven Mother knew we would have one who is not of the flock here for the ritual. Oh, you are truly blessed. Is everyone in places? Good, good. Let us begin. Nom, 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 nom. Quickly, sacred feathers! Which ones are feathers? Those are sacred feathers. Go! So that's scroll, that's feathers, that's waters. And that's incense. Got it. We need to fill the air with a sweet scent. Something fragrant. Yes, yes. Very good, very good. Now inspire us with a reading of the Scroll of Raven. Perfect! Oh, we are so close to success. Probably because I'm kind of unintentionally channeling that in my voice acting Deutsch. Sacred feathers! Whee! Very good! Did you rehearse when I wasn't looking? I'm just going to take the voice all the way. Quickly now, throw the sacred feathers to the winds. Oh, you're doing fine. Inspire us with a reading of the Scroll of Ravens. Oh, yes. Yes!
I have returned.
Hey, what's up, Kalu?
Raven Mother, we humbly welcome you to our nest. Your presence brings joy to our hearts.
You have done much to help my little nest of forgotten ones. The poor creatures are not quite sane, but with their own kin hunting them, I pity their plight. Their flying kin, the adherents you call them, would see the forgotten ones destroyed and my children made into slaves. This I will not allow.
I sense one who is not of the flock. Come closer, child. You there, Scroll Keeper. You are not of the Raven Speakers. Why do you stand before me?
Great Kahalu, The tales of your majesty are woefully inadequate.
You flatter me, but darkness weighs upon your thoughts. Speak, child.
The adherents of Rookmar wield a great power. They would use it to burn us all, including your ravens.
They also subjugate my children, forcing them to fight and die. What might you have us do?
Great Mother, in the name of Anzu, we ask humbly that you lend us your wings. With your help, we can extinguish the light which sets the sky ablaze.
Anzu always was meddling in the affairs of mortals. One would think I might learn from his mistakes. Very well, Scroll Keeper. My flock is yours.
Mortals.
Ah, hello.
Now we bring our fight to the adherents. Rastok is certain his new invention will give us control of the Apexis weapons, but we must get close. Very close. Kalu and her ravens will fly us to the windswept terrace. We will gain new foothold there before pressing on to the Terrace of the Dawn.
I will speak with Kalu when you're ready to fly.
Correct, Venters. Not this one, obviously. This is Kalu. Anzu is over there, but yes, well, okay. It's a different Anzu, but it's the same Anzu. In other words, it's the Anzu from this time period, not the Anzu from the other time period. Do you know why I allow these accursed, forgotten children of Rookmar to live on my flock? It's because I weep for them. They are trapped between two gods, one who fears and rejects them, and one would enslave them to their dark will. Their only champions abandoned them long ago, and nobody has stood beside them since, until you came along. And yeah, I would agree, Magister. Most of these creatures act very much like typical Loa. It's one of the reasons why I just flat out say these are all Loa.
Percy, you stay here and guard the nest.
Also, I would love to have a mount this size. In case you can't tell, that speck on one of her feathers is us. And we have several other Arakoa on her back as well. It's worth noting I have this mount. It's the mount I use on my my rogue. It's just it's a little smaller. Stuff like this is admittedly it kind of brilliant in its own weird way. Setting your if you set up your buildings all the way up in the sky to the point where the only access point is the air, like this thing, I have to admit that's a hell of a natural defense, isn't it? Like, it's debatable if Skyreach is accessible from the ground, and some people I've heard argue that back and forth. But there's no denying that this spot, which is the Windswept Terrace, is completely inaccessible from the ground unless you happen to, you know, have access, unless you fly up, in other words. Come on, come on! 6, 7... 8! Aw, damn, we only got 8. Oh, crap. We should pay attention. I've noticed they proc more when I'm in a group. I don't know if that's significant or not.
You fight like a legend. Come, let us return to the sky.
Yeah, the Iron Horde didn't conquer, like, anything here, except for a brief spot up there, which we'll be doing later.
Yes?
I'm fine, I just need to catch my breath. I wasn't expecting the ride to be so fast. I've always gotten the impression, personally, that Rashad is actually a natural-born outcast. In other words, he isn't one who was cursed. He never had his wings. It's just the way he acts and talks that gives me that impression. Iskar, by contrast, definitely had his wings and was cursed. We know that because there's a short story about it. The Raven Speaker acolytes have been equipped with Apexis interfaces. They just need to get close enough. Come, let us take to the skies and secure the Terrace of the Dawn. When all is aligned, we shall turn the false suns against one another and burn the spires like torches. I look forward to penning your actions into history.
Goodbye. Speak with Kaalu when you're ready to fly.
Also, that's another aspect of the whole fighting from the sky thing. And this actually comes into play when we actually do Skyreach. That'd be funny, Necro, but no. Anyways, whoa, crap.
My cries will rattle your enemies like thunder. Guide my aim and strike them down.
Startled me for a
We
second.
need to capture those alignment controls.
Anywho,
It is no good. They're dying out there. Clear a path for them.
working on it. Anywho, as we'll actually see when we get to Skyreach proper, not that I'm aware, Magister, they'll actually use that height advantage as a literal tactical advantage too, because one of the things they both do in lore and do in the actual fight is they'll just take people who they don't like and toss them over the edge, and since most people can't, fly, they just kind of plummet to their doom. It's wonderfully pragmatic, and it reminds me of, the pragmatism of the Valkyr's usage in the Lich King fight. We're not done yet, Gnarlex. Although we are approaching the climax here.
Reinforcements! Clear them out!
I can handle that. Look, Magister, they're big things that I'm accidentally
It looks
targeting.
like everyone is in position. Kaalu, give the signal and get us out of here!
This is kind of cool. We could have taken that tech for ourselves, but no, we wanted to send a pretty clear message. So we just had both of their other death beams wipe each other out. They still have one death beam, the main one. But we took out their other two. Literally 2 of their 3, by the way.
Let me tell you a story.
Percy and I wanted to give you something as a token of our thanks. It's not much, but please take your reward. I'll get to that quest in a second.
Goodbye.
As you place the gavel at the base of the effigy, Rashad speaks over your shoulder. So,
Long ago, a Bloodmane Pride Lord commanded his hunters to bring him 10,000 Arakoa feathers. Eager for the glory of battle, the young chieftain had hoped to incite a war with the Arakoa. But the Talon King came alone, and what ensued was not a war. It was a slaughter.
so the Talon King is, as you might imagine, kind of similar to the Thunder King for the Arakoa, as the Thunder King was to the Mogu. In other words, he was a very skilled, very powerful, very charismatic individual. Now, also I want to point out his equipment. You notice he has full-on equipment and gear and whatnot here. I point this out because this is from a long time ago, long before the adherents of Rukmar ever became a thing, but after the era of the Apexis. In other words, this is in an era where the Arakoa might have actually done things like invent, craft, and build. And yeah, the fact that Rukmar basically was just turned into a world boss is another example of that whole... I need to come up with a term for us. The Warlords cut content thing. I need a term for that. Because it's just come up so many times. If you were to ask me what Tarok's class is, personally, I would say he's a highly specialized form of enhancement shaman. He's damn good at what he does, too. He's pretty impressive. Yeah, by the way, you remember how I mentioned earlier the jump thing being significant? Notice they have unique models for, or unique animations for jumping on the Arakoa. Yeah. This right here was a nice little sneak peek of what it would have been like to play as an Arakoa. And this right here is pretty much why I would make a highborn Arakoa if I could, because, dude, this is so cool. Ahem. I'm just raising my eyebrow at you, Butch. What do you mean, like this? It's the same animation for vertical and for moving. Which is true for several other races, too. Not all of them. Depends. Yeah, it's not 100% complete. Oh, right, I should try dance. Don't think it works, though. Yeah, dance doesn't work. But, yeah. Would have been awesome. We'll probably never get playable Arakoa now. They're never going to introduce him at this point. They're done. Yeah, I have that toy, Equilibrium. And, yeah, I use it semi-frequently. Yeah, sure, give me a second. Well, I can't walk. Like, literally, it won't let me. I have seen them walk, though. We see the mobs walk in the Skyreach dungeon. So they do have a walk animation. I just... yeah, can't demonstrate it here. Yeah, no kidding, Necro. I imagine the Saberon are absolutely terrified of Tarok. Just the name of him, even to this day. Some other games might refer to his class as a dervish. That was one of many such tales. No Arakoa, living or dead, has ever been compared to the Talon King, except us. Tarok's daughter, Lithic, was a skilled huntress, but found her true passion in goldsmithing. She forged this bangle as a gift for her father, and he wore it for many years. Only after Lithic passed away did he remove the bangle, for her memory was too much for the old king to bear. Place the bangle on the effigy. I will tell you of Tarok's fall.
Farewell for now. The Talon King's own sages betrayed him. Tarok and his allies were cast into the pools.
I've already talked about this. The cursed pools of
Cursed
sea.
blood seared his flesh and tore at his mind. As he withered, Tarok had but one concern: his daughter Lithic.
By the way, hi, Deacon. I know you popped in earlier while I was AFK, but hi. Must get to daughter, now that I've been betrayed by my own people. Because of course I have, because the adherents of Rukmar are evil.
Seeing her broken body, Tarok despaired. He surrendered to the creeping darkness.
You gotta stop using those periods, Magister.
But in that darkness, something found him. A strange power filled the Talon King. A presence urged him on.
Oh god, excuse me. Ah. Yeah, nice shadow voidy energies that the Talon King is wielding now. Yes and no, Myron. But I would say it's still worth picking up if you don't have the GBA version. Because he's been cursed, Nerozaz. Just like these other Arakko have been cursed. Their wings have been broken and their bodies have been mutated by the blood of Seath. I mentioned a similarity to the Red Mist. Would you believe we don't actually know what the Red Mist is still? Like, we know what it does. And it's actually a rather significant part of the story of the Demonic Legion's advance upon the Draenei. In fact, the Red Mist is exactly why the, you know, for example, Akama looks the way he does. So, I don't know any streamers you watch who really love FF6, Myron, so. So yeah, the Red Mist morphs and warps and deforms your body and cuts you off from the light. Which is pretty much exactly what this curse does. The Curse of Seth. Or Seath, excuse me, Seath. So, don't know if they're the same thing. The theoretical similarity here is that the Red Mist might actually be the Curse of Seath weaponized. That the Demonic Legion took... Because the Red Mist was something the Demonic Legion... Or excuse me, the Demonic Horde actually unleashed on the Draenei in order to help break them when they were assaulting Shatrith and whatnot. And so it's entirely possible they found the Curse of Thieves and wield it against the Draenei. That's my theory on it, anyways. Now, that happened later, Magister. The Red Mist is why any given Draenei looks like a... I forget which one it is. I want to say... Broken? It's the first step down from Draenei. You know, like a comma. If you go a further step down into the Lost Ones, that's what they're called, that's them being affected by the Fel. I'd do that too, okay, admittedly.
It's about time.
Of course, I'm a fan of the interface screw philosophy in gameplay design. Since that day, the sages have remained in power in Skyreach, now calling themselves adherents of Rukmar and claiming to be the heralds of her will. So in case you're paying attention, at the point at which the Arakkoan society was at its height, with the great Talon King at their front, and they were pretty much dominant in terms of culture, society, military, magic, utterly unquestioned in their supremacy of the realm, the upper echelons of the priesthood, who eventually became the adherents to Rukmar, betrayed their king and tossed him and others and all of his supporters down into the pits of in the Sethek Hollow in order to convert them into, you know, the flightless ones, and took over. And their society has been in decline ever since, up until we come along. Yes, Necro. Exactly.
As the years passed, the Talon King's health declined. Grief hung in his heart, while the curse chewed relentlessly at his mind. He began to hate this world, abandoning Skedis, and even sacrificing his own people in search of a cure.
Yeah, he got...
Hoping to rejuvenate their fading king, the Talon priests sealed Arak away in the shadows. And that brings us to today. With the relics and the Talon priests in place, we are ready to call upon the Talon King.
Yeah, no kidding, Nerozaz. So, if you ever wondered why Terok was considered a villain over in BC, this is why. Because it was actually the followers of Seath who called him forth and continued to corrupt him. So when they brought him forth, he was this evil amalgamation of doom, just like he was in his final days, rather than the true Talon King who we'll actually get to meet here.
Do not believe your eyes.
You think yourself a worthy vessel of my power. Prove it! Yes, Magister. No, I do not. I have not LARPed in many, many years. Not since high school, actually. One neat thing is he actually uses the abilities we just had as him against us. Now that... we're not sure, Magister. We're not sure if the Void and the Great Dark Beyond are the same thing. But probably yes.
I have returned.
You fight well. My long sleep was disturbed by dreams of the past. I cut down my enemies again. I watched my daughter die again. Again, see how he... this probably is the same hell that Arthas was in, just, you know, different representation. And I would say weaker, personally, Nero's eyes. You were there. I felt your presence in these dreams, and your past was revealed to me as well. Someone has woven our fates together. My people are yours to protect, and your enemies are mine to destroy. The Shattered Hand are rallied in Blade Fist hold. Left to their own, they would claim this land for the Iron Horde. And they would succeed because there's no one to stop them, because the adherents to Rukmar are idiots. And the other two are zealots of their own kind. Take my power. Together we will break them.
Raven, watch over you.
So this is pretty frickin' cool. This is not in the past or in a story. We are actually fighting with the as the avatar of the Talon King against the Shattered Hand. I would imagine it's just how he's projecting himself, but I don't know is the correct answer. Tired of being hunted? Or just here for revenge? Go on, little bird. Do your worst. What? Who are you? He's actually talking, sorry. His voice is...
I am the Talon King. I have come from beyond death to stem the Iron Tide. This ends now.
So, I like this, even though some people hate it. I like the idea that Kargath is just that much of a badass to keep up with the Talon King and accomplish some of the things we're about to see him do here. Also, his abilities here are, in their own way, more impressive than his actual raid abilities. And more dangerous. Like that attack he did right there, his Omni Slash kind of a thing. Why didn't he have that in the raid fight, you know?
Well, I'm Kargath Blade Fist, and when I kill something, it stays dead! Possible power has failed you. So it's you in there.
Hi.
Khadgar isn't here to protect you this time.
Note he remembers us.
What? Gah! Are you all right? That was a close call.
Basically, yes,
We barely
Necro.
got you out in time.
I agree, Meter Madeira. Kargath is an unmitigated badass.
That orc, Kargath, even at my full strength, he would prove a challenge. My children, it will take more than a fading memory from the past to overcome the challenges you face today. You must strike your own path, lay the past to rest, and raise new champions. You have one already. Hero, I can never again grant you my full power. Kargath severed that bond. But so long as you tread in Arak, some piece of me will remain with you.
That's right, Django.
I will lend my power as often as I can.
Oh, he was a warrior king. He was absolutely a warrior king. And in Draenor, that's what's needed. The Shattered Hand is in shambles. The avatar of Terok now walks among us. When I promised you power back in Skeddies, did you expect it would come without any strings attached?
I will see you again.
This is when we get Ishal. He's actually another of my favorite. He's probably, I'd say, my second favorite of the followers that you can get as a bodyguard. Partially because he's a pretty awesome pseudo-DPS, pseudo-healer guy.
Beware the burning sky.
Let's talk about Iskar really quick before we move on. So this is Shadow Sage Iskar. Now, as I mentioned, we know he is a recent fallen. In other words, he is someone who used to be a highborn who was then cursed and lost his wings. So he knows what it's like to fly. He knows what it's like to not be cursed. He understands what he has lost, in other words. And he... let me finish Skyreach, actually. Then I'll tell you about him. So we get a quest to go to Skyreach.
Yes.
Which is this one.
Farewell.
As we have dealt a crippling blow to the adherents, but our fight is not finished yet. Gather your allies and prepare for the final siege on Skyreach. Shadows gather when the raven swallows the day. Burning sky is extinguished as black wings fold gently about the heavens. Rest, my children, rest, for even the sun must sleep. This was Rukmar's lullaby, sung to her first Arakoa. Gosh, how we've lost our way. Yes and no, Nerozaz, but the general answer is no, is what you're asking about. Oops, wrong one. I need this one. So let's go do Skyreach, shall we?
Skyreach. I have not been this close to her in many years. The High Sage will be well protected. We can fly no closer.
Notice how we're flying in, by the way. What do you mean twice, Gnarlex? Did I already show you
Destroy
this?
their false sun, that we
think
may
I did.
meet again in the shade.
I'm confused now. Good night, Sonoshi. So, I'm not going to talk too much about the trash as we're going up. It's well-designed trash. And again, they get across that whole sun druid thing in their overall approach. All their abilities tend to lean towards that direction. Our first boss is a warrior called Ranjit, who has spent a lifetime honing his skill with the bladed chakram. He found that as his mastery of the traditional Arakoa weapon grew, he could shape the wind itself and wield it against his enemies. He now guards the inner sanctum of Skyreach, willing to die to protect the seat of Arakoa power amongst the Spires. I'm sorry, what I mean is I have two settings for showing videos in OBS. And I needed the other one. Now, one of the things that I do like that they did here is this does a little bit. This is probably one of the better done dungeons in terms of gameplay and story integration, because of the way this helps to inform just how messed up the Rukmar are. And there's some interesting story here that's all basically off camera, and I hate that it's off camera. Again, you know, warlords cut content. Yes, Magister. So see this? That's a highborn overload. You notice overlord. You notice how they have lowborn here as slave laborers. This is cruel for three reasons, but I want you to look at what they're doing. You notice how they get big and more violent? What's happening is the overlord is ripping out their feathers in order to enrage them to attack us more. Just think about that for a moment. Imagine, fight harder, rip! Furthermore, if these slaves in any way rebel, they just get shoved over the edge.
I will slice the flesh from your bones.
Which is kind of messed up. Kind of. This group wasn't too bad. I had a couple of DPS issues, but otherwise it was fine. But seriously, think about how screwed up that is. That'd be like having slaves, like if you were an underwater race and you had slaves who you basically had an enchantment that allowed them to breathe underwater, and if they ever rebelled, you just remove the enchantment. Okay. Oh, excuse me. I had something got stopped in my throat there. But yeah, the implication that I get, at least from that, and the fact that they literally, the feather tearing thing.
You cannot outrun the wind!
Yeah, it's screwed up on many levels, but I also get the implication they do that semi-regularly. This is a cool mechanic, by the way. Dodging the air. It's pretty much the only mechanic this boss actually has. It's still cool. They could, yeah, they could have made an entire raid out of the Highborn, or the Apexes for that matter. But Warlords cut content. Just gonna start saying that. Hashtag Warlords cut content. Now, one of the things they've been doing, especially here, is they've been trying to reverse engineer these Apexis devices as quickly as possible. Because they don't really know how they work. I mean, they know how to get them running because their interface is extremely user-friendly, as we saw with that damn chair. But they're still trying to figure out how to get this stuff to work. So as you can see, what they're trying to do here is a crude way of powering it up. This is such a half-assed way of trying to power it up.
Praise my creation! Slay these intruders!
Because what he'd done is he's gathered a whole bunch of the smaller Apexis constructs and is channeling the solar power into the main one. By the way, I've also lost a finger now. So. Yeah. This is one of those weird boss fights that's boring yet hard. This is a hell of a gear check fight, at least on Heroic. Because he just hits really hard. Everything he does is just hit you, and then he hits with the beam thing, and then he hits with his unavoidable, hits the entire raid thing. Yep. Not that. That's easily dodged. Easily dodged. This is the thing you can't dodge. The idea here in lore is the fact that he is being so pumped up with solar energy, he actually can't contain it all, and so he has to occasionally release it against you. Because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to actually make one of these things proper, you know? I'm sure Kargath would approve, Kay. I hate this trash. These are fixate trash, which means they're hard to tank, and by hard I mean actually impossible to tank, because they're fixating. And they actually hit pretty hard too, so, you know, yay. One thing I do like, and I kind of really wish they had done more, Warrior, Lord of Terror, is that, no, on Heroic mode, Mira Madeira. I've never done Challenge mode or Mythics in Warlords, for reasons I've already explained. One of the things I really wish that we'd seen more of is the aesthetic style of the Arak. The art team, as ever, Warlords art team is just top-notch. And they did a really good job with pulling this particular aesthetic out of the Arakoans. This sort of... I don't even know what to call it. It's awesome looking. And we only really get to see it here, and a very, very brief part in HFC, and that's kind of it. Also, this is interesting here. What's happening is basically this bird is being empowered by the flames, but it's implied that as he's being empowered by the solar energy, it's also burning him apart. Kind of like, in lore, a Archon from StarCraft. This majestic bird, yes, I am a terrible player, thank you, Mira Madeira. This majestic bird, rumored to be the progeny of Rukmar, soars through the skies above the spires of Arak. He has an affinity for solar energy and uses it to incinerate his prey. Even though he doesn't actually do any attacks like that, and in fact his mechanic is mostly about his ads, because the boss himself is pathetic. Yes, I'm soloing the dungeon, like with my mental powers. You know how Xavier can control minds? Well, I can control computers with my mind. It's like... Are you sure you want a bird-based civilization, Kay? Assuming that one theory is true, of course. I'm just getting you a good camera angle, because I like his death. See? He actually plummets down to the ground below. It's a nice touch. So this is actually pretty neat. I know that a lot of people hate this, but this is probably my favorite part of Skyreach right here. This makes perfect sense. They literally have enchanted wind that tries to knock you off, and you have to fight against it. And as you're going through, you see these birds that are attacking you. You actually can't attack them. They will do damage to you. It doesn't. This is normal mode, so they're not doing jack for damage. But in heroic mode, they actually do a decent amount of damage, and they hurt as you're going through here. And there's a couple of classes that have abilities to bypass this little mini maze thing, like, say, that, which helps you to skip some of it. And, of course, anyone with, you know, a sprint or whatever can do this. And I believe we're going to show off the yank, too. Yep, right there. So that's kind of neat. Anywho, so, why warrior? Warrior fits my mentality very well. I'm a tank at heart. Like, even in real life, if you converted the three types of roles into real life, I would be a tank. All of my friends and family agree on this matter, including me. I agree with this too. So, first of all, warrior tank, it's just me. I've been playing a warrior literally since the alpha, actually, back when warrior and priest were basically it, and I chose warrior. So I've been playing warrior the longest. I'm very accustomed to it. But I've also loved the idea of someone who is just sufficiently skilled and strong to keep up with all the incredibly powerful mages and all the arcane powers and all the elements and all the druidic power and all the fell power. And there's just this guy in a giant chunk of armor or the weapon who just has enough skill and strength and raw badassery to keep up with that. I like that concept. It's part of why I like Kargath, because he doesn't have anything empowering him. He's just that skilled in a similar manner. So this is actually a really cool mechanic right here. We've actually seen this kind of mechanic before in Pandaria, I want to say. Basically, this is one mob with like 5, I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5 different attack points on it. And all of them take damage, so if you AoE, you're basically, you know, double dipping on your damage to it. But he's got a ton of health, and he hits like a truck. Boss time. So this is the High Sage Virix, the current leader of the adherents of Rukmar. She, because they do have female Arakoa.
You down like the mongrels you are.
She is dedicated wholly to harnessing the Apexis artifacts in service of her will. At last, thanks to the completion of the massive crystal superweapon that focuses the sun's energy, it is time for the Arakoa to claim their rightful place as rulers of Draenor.
Feed on their pulp. Behold the might of the Arakoa!
Oh, I know, Magister. I might...
Servants! Protect your master!
Yeah, her short story kind of indicates how much of an evil twat she really is. She is not a nice person. Hint, she's the one who sold out Iskar. The reason Iskar was cast down.
Cast them down! Let the scavengers below feed on their pulp.
And yeah, it's kind of hard to show off because we wreck it so quickly. But one of the things they do here is the birds will literally drag you over the edge.
The might of the Arakoa.
And that's the death beam that she uses in the middle boss fight. This is a cool boss fight. This one actually has a bunch of neat mechanics, and I actually really like fighting this one.
We will always soar.
Nope, you're dead. And I just wanted to get you a nice shot of this. If you fall, you do die. Appropriately. There's no salvaging it. And that's pretty much the end. They can Norlix, but only under really specific circumstances. In other words, you basically have to be trying to get that to happen. So with that, we are actually done with the Spires of Arak. But before we continue, there's one thing I do want to mention, because this is actually kind of important. Because there's a bit of story that happens off-camera after we finish Skyreach, and I want to tell you about it because it's really important. What happens is, with the adherents of Rukmar defeated, and we took out their High Sage, that was the woman Virix we just killed there. With them defeated, the grip on Highborn society by the adherents of Rukmar is removed. And all of a sudden, the Highborn have a power vacuum. Similarly, the outcasts are in a situation where they're still struggling to survive and exist in the wake of the devastation that's happened to them. And then the player character is dubbed the new Talon King / Queen by Arak himself. In the wake of all of these events, the player character encourages the two sides, and the devs have confirmed this. We did this. I really wish they'd shown us this on camera, because this sounds awesome. But what we did is we took the leaders of both sides, Rashad and whoever's left of the Highborn, and said, make it work. Make it work together. Both of you need each other. And we actually forged this new organization called the Order of the Awakened between the two of these forces. And the Highborn and the Outcasts agree to put aside their differences and work together, especially in the wake of a greater threat. Cough, cough, the Burning Legion. Cough, cough. And that's actually really awesome. And I really wish they'd shown that on camera. Especially since it's actually kind of important for something that happens over in the Tanaan jungle. Which I guess I'll go ahead and talk about now. See, Iskar, you remember him? The guy who's been working with us pretty much since the beginning. He didn't like that idea. He thought we should kill all the Highborn. Just all of them, abstractly. And for some reason, that didn't really catch on. And for some weird reason, several other outcasts also thought all the Highborn should be slaughtered. Now, I mean, the desire for vengeance is strong, and Lord knows they suffered tremendously underneath the adherents of Rukmar. So it's understandable their hatred. However, so in their desperation, and as I told you earlier, one thing Arakoa are big on is going to something in desperation. What the Arakoa did was they went to the only person willing to take them in, Gul'dan. Iskar and the other Arakoa split from the Order of the Awakened and said, no, we refuse to work with you. We refuse to be a part of this show, this sham. And they went and they joined the Burning Freaking Legion. Now, that's not what they thought they were doing, but that's how it works, isn't it? They went back and they said, can your fell magic give us back our wings? And they said yes, because fell magic can accomplish a lot of things. All that matters is how much you are willing to pay. So Gul'dan used fell magic to burn off chunks of their souls and convert and corrupt them so that they could be turned into a full-winged form. And I'm going to show you very briefly. We're actually going to show this fight later, but it's relevant now. That's why I want to talk about it now. There. This is what they will look like after they have finished their conversion. You can literally see the fell energy coursing through their feathers, if you could even call them at that point then. I actually have a pet theory that they didn't restore them to their proper Arakoan form, that this is basically them with fell energy grafted onto them, and the fell energy happens to be in the form of that, just kind of constantly burning away at them and their soul. That's just my take on it. I don't know if that's true or not, but I like the idea. And it would make sense for how Gul'dan was able to accomplish this. So, anywho... So, as you can see, he is a raid boss in Hellfire Citadel because he ends up joining the Burning Legion, and we will end up killing him later. Yeah. And as you can see, there's a few other fell-infused Arakoans, including ones that weren't given their wings back. Thanks. Thanks, we joined you for nothing. Thanks, appreciate that. Anywho. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here for the night. Tomorrow we're going to do Nagrand. Nagrand isn't super large, not as large as Spires of Arak was, and it's nowhere near as awesome. It does have one awesome aspect to it. And then assuming we have enough time, we'll go ahead and finish up the endgame stuff. Lord knows there's not that much. Either way, I hope to see you guys tomorrow.